Yoimiya will never ever get better, and here's why. Hello everyone, today I'm going to explain to you why I think Yoimiya will never get better and why people should stop lying about Yoimiya. Now, when I say lying about Yoimiya, I don't mean about people who think she's underrated, that she can be good, she can be decent, she can kiss for a base, blah blah blah, and whatever. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people who is inhaling so much copium about this $100 4-star unit that they just disregard all of the flaws of Yoimiya and just keep telling people to just pull for Yoimiya. If you're someone who is already dead set on getting Yoimiya, like I did back in 2.0, just because of her character in general and her design, I mean, that's okay. You can just pull for any character that you want. But the moment you talk about character other than their personality and their character design, you're already delving into the meta aspects of the game. And when it comes to the meta, you cannot deny that there is such thing as something that's good, something that's bad, something that's easy to play, and something that's hard to play. There is no subjective mindset when it comes to the meta. There's always the objective truth whether a character is good or bad based on their kit, synergy, and gameplay. So first, let's look at the current situation for Yoimiya. Has anything been changed for her ever since 2.0? Yes, a lot actually. For one, her main criticism back in 2.0 is that she required one of the best supports, which is Zhongli, Bennett, and Xingqiu, which other units may want, preferably like Eula and Hu Tao. But now, MiHoYo has released more supports dedicated for Yoimiya, like Yelan and Yunjin. So in that regard, you can actually forego Xingqiu and Bennett to put them on the other side of the team, and you can use Yelan and Yunjin for Yoimiya instead. But was this really enough for her? Back in 2.0, Yoimiya's damage overall is very lacking compared to Xiangling and Hu Tao. Okay, maybe very is a very strong word. She's only like slightly behind Hu Tao in that regard, and obviously both of them just lost to Xiangling overall. With Yunjin being a better buffer for Yoimiya than Bennett, and Yelan being a more offensive version of Xingqiu, Yoimiya's damage compared to Hu Tao there has lessened the gap. But this can't ignore the fact that Yoimiya is a solely single target DPS unit. You can argue that your Hu Tao is also a single target DPS unit, but as a melee character, she has the choice to actually deal some damage to multiple enemies, be it from her white AoE elemental burst and also from her charge attack, which she pushes forward and she can actually aim which way you're going, so she can actually hit multiple opponents while Yoimiya can't. This is actually a bigger deal than people realize because one of the main arguments for Yoimiya is that she's supposed to be a boss killer. Like, you shouldn't bring her for AoE fights anyway, she's supposed to be made for boss fights. For one, there are better boss killers like Hu Tao, Eula, Ayaka. All of them deal tremendous damage to both bosses and they can deal with groups. And second of all, boss chambers can contain more than one enemy. I mean, we've seen the triple Mawakenki and also the double, the Geo Bishop couple, the Electro and Cryo one. And MiHoYo may just release more boss chambers that contains more than one enemy. So even in that regard, Yoimiya is practically less effective to use than the other DPS, Hu Tao, Xiangling, Eula, and Ayaka. So it's like they've deliberately made Yoimiya to be worse in every aspect that she's made it. I mean, she's supposed to be a single target DPS, and she can't even out damage Hu Tao or Xiangling, a free 4-star you can get from a base floor tree. She's supposed to be a ranged character, but her range is shorter than Yan Fei, a catalyst user. She's supposed to be a boss killer, but then you have someone like Ayaka and Eula who has way higher modifiers than her and their AoE. So they can clear those boss chambers that contains 2 to 3 or 4 enemies just like any other group of mobs. So I don't understand why Yoimiya mains are such in copium when it comes to defending Yoimiya. I mean, you can defend her character design and how cute she looks and how her personality is really great as the summer queen of Narukami, but The amount of copium they're inhaling just to defend this $100 costing 4-star unit who can't even outdamage the free 4-star unit you can get from the Abyss is absolutely baffling. And to remind you all that I'm also a Yoimiya Main. I've pulled her since day 1 of her release and also got Thundering Pulse. Luckily I didn't need to spend any money to get both of these, but yeah. So I've been clearing Abyss using her since 2.0. You can see my previous videos from 2.1 until up to now, I've been using Yoimiya. So all of my um, ranting against her isn't dumbfounded. It's someone who's been using Yoimiya for almost over a year, so I know what I'm talking about. The only boss that Yoimiya can beat more effectively than anyone else in the game is the Thundering Manifestation. Eula might be able to one-shot the Thunderbird in the overworld much easier than Yoimiya, and when it comes to the Abyss, they have more health and such. Yoimiya's consistent damage will make her better than Eula in that regard. So at least that's something for her, right? She's effective against this type of boss, flying, moving around, and have some global phases. But it's precisely because she's only effective against this boss is why Yoimiya will never get better. This boss exists in the current floor 11 Chamber 3 right now, and even though it's only floor 11, people are complaining that they can't beat this boss because they don't have Yoimiya, since Yoimiya has one of the lowest sales of all time, so not a lot of players actually own Yoimiya to be effective against this boss. So what I'm trying to say is that since Yoimiya's kit is only effective against this type of boss, and no other character is as close as effective as she is against this type of boss, MiHoYo will likely not create more bosses like the Thundering Manifestation because it causes so much complaints among the player base who don't own Yoimiya. What this should tell you is that MiHoYo will only create enemies for units that they can sell. If they create more enemies tailored for Yoimiya, it's only going to make the player base angrier and angrier because they don't have Yoimiya. Look at what they did to the Specters. Specters is one of the most hated enemies to fight in the game, but Yoimiya mains are just happily dealing with them with Yoimiya. Meanwhile, other mains are just going batshit crazy about these balloon enemies that MiHoYo actually nerfed them to be able to be pullable with Venti, Sucrose, and Kazuha. This just further proves that MiHoYo has no intention of making Yoimiya better, because if they create more content for Yoimiya, other characters will struggle in comparison. And if other characters struggle more in comparison, they won't be able to sell new units. So that's essentially my thoughts on Yoimiya. Despite MiHoYo releasing dedicated supports for Yoimiya, her place in the meta will always be the same as she was in 2.0, for the reasons I've stated previously. If you're on the fence whether or not you want to summon Yoimiya, just take it from me as a Yoimiya main, don't. Unless your sole reason was because of a character design and her bubbly personality, then go and pull her. But if you're really on the fence, then just save your primos and your money for literally any other limited banner because everyone else is better than Yoimiya in every sense except for flying enemies, which MiHoYo will highly likely not make because it makes Yoimiya better, but it will make the other characters look less effective in comparison. And we all know businesses want to sell as much of their products as possible and not focus solely on just one product. And that's it from me. If you think I'm wrong, I'd really like to see your argument in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I haven't done especially well for the past 2 years. I've been rather stagnant in around 20 subs. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing so that I know that it's worth the effort for me to do these kinds of videos. And that's about it.